Hi, Chloe. I hope that you're doing well. So, last week we learned about chords and chord inversions. Here are just a couple reminders to jog our memory. So, a triad is a collection of three notes that are played at the same time. And typically, what you'll see in a triad is our bottom note or our root. That's where we get the name of our chord. You'll skip one and go to the next note, which would be considered our third, and then you would skip another and go to our fifth note, which is considered the fifth, right? So if we played C, E, and G, there's our C, and we know it's a major chord. C major triad. C is our one or our root. E would be our third, and G would be our fifth, right? Regardless of where we place these three notes, though, we learned that it would still sound like a C major chord, right? Like, say we had an E at the bottom instead, but then we had G and C stacked on top of that. Still sounds like C major, it's just a little jumbled up. Remember, we call that an inversion whenever we don't have our root on the bottom of a chord. So if our E was on the bottom of our C major, or even our G was on the bottom of our C major, that's what we call an inversion. Whenever the third is on the bottom, we call it first inversion because we only inverted it once. And when the fifth is on the bottom, we call it second inversion because we've now inverted it twice. Makes sense? So, this week, I want to talk a little bit about how those kind of bridge into songs. So, you may remember me mentioning before that music is a language, yeah. And you may also remember me mentioning at one point that 99.99999% of the songs that you hear ever are based on these major scales. Well, our chords that are hidden inside of these scales are the reason because of that. We have these things called chord progressions. So we take our chords and we put them together in a certain pattern, and then we're able to build songs off of that. For instance, let me grab my guitar. For instance, we have a very common chord progression built off of our one chord. Say we're in the key of C. We build off of our one, and then we go to a four, and then we go to five, and then we go back to one. So our one would be the C, right? And then we go to our four, and then our five, and then we go back to our one. Yeah. And there's like an infinite amount of combinations that we can do. And a lot of people do a lot of really crazy things. But there are very simple ones that we can do to get us started just like that. Sometimes you might recognize this song. So there's a pretty famous song that starts off on the one, and then it goes up to the three, and then it goes to the four, and then they do something kind of crazy. They change the four into a minor four. That one's a Creep by Radiohead. But anywho, these chords and these progressions kind of work like a sentence. It's like if chords were our words, whenever we take a bunch of words and put them together, they make a sentence, right? That's pretty much what a chord progression is like. So for this week, I'm going to start you off really simple. In our key of C, I want you to play your C major chord. We'll go to our F major chord, then to our G major chord, and back to our C major chord. And that would be your 1-4-5-1 progression, right? Whenever that starts to feel good and make sense, you can even take it around and do it in different keys. So, like in the key of G, for example, in G, now our 1 is G major, yeah? So we'll go from G major to our 4, which would be our C major, and then our 5 will become our D major, and then we go back to G. And now you're starting to see how this can all, or how this all really falls into place. We're able to do these progressions in any key that we want, and it'll have a little bit of a different color, but it'll still be the same basic progression. It's really cool. Anywho, Chloe, I will see you next time, and I hope you have a great one.